point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 641st edition of Energy Week with me, George Harvey, and Nancy Wolf.
Hello.
Okay. Energy Week is a show that is news aggregation for energy and climate change, which do go together. It is the individual articles that we're going to go into. There's 3 for each day. Usually that's the way we do it on Energy Week. Not always. Sometimes we have 2 on one day and 4 on another. But 3 each day, generally, and they come from my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. You can go to some place that you can scroll to that somebody put up on the screen of possibly a computer or whatever it is that you're watching with. And that would be a link to a site called tinyurl /EnergyWeek641. And if you click on that, it has 21 articles with the links to the original article and the pictures. But you can also go to geoharvey.com and find them there. The only thing is you have to go to the calendar and find the date and click on it and so forth.
Yeah.
Do I have anything more to say on this introduction? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our first item is this is a NuScale power plant, nuclear plant, which doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
But I want to point out how big this is. This is from Clean Technica. This is a small modular reactor plant.
Yeah.
And just to show you how small it is, you can see the road coming up from the lower left to the middle of the screen. And there's a dark area there and with a bunch of little things in it. Those little things are cars.
Oh, that's what they are. Okay.
Yeah. This is not as small as some people would make it sound.
Oh, well, the headline we have here is Small Modular Reactors and the Big Questions of Cost and Waste.
Small modular reactors are advertised as cheaper, safer, faster to build, and easier to finance than traditional reactors. A study published in Progress in Nuclear Energy, this is not an anti-nuclear publication, takes a sober look at those claims and finds them wanting. The study examines both cost and waste. I could tell a story. I got an email once from a pro-nuclear activist who said the Chernobyl explosion proved that nuclear power is safe. Sorry to make you laugh. No, I'm not sorry to make you laugh. I take that back. He said after all, there were only 17 people who died as a result of the explosion.
Oh, that's why you say that.
And I thought, what kind of story is this? Well, I think that he meant 17 people were meant by falling roof pieces and flying bricks. You know, they were killed by that. But there were a lot of people who were buried because they died of I worked with a guy at one time who worked at Chernobyl at the time that happened. He wasn't at the plant. He was a computer programmer. And he said there were people buried in graves that were 340 they were 100 meters deep because they wanted that radioactivity never to surface. And he said the people who tended them in the hospital up until the time they died were wearing clothing that was designed to protect them from
like magnets or something.
The radiation from the people.
Yeah.
They were that radioactive. And hospital workers were getting radiation sickness from exposure to the people who had been at the plant. Okay. The World Health Organization said 4,000. The nuclear industry admits to something like 73 deaths. The World Health Organization said, it's a little bit more like 4,500. The Torch report said that it was higher, I don't know, 10,000. There was the alternate to the Torch report. No, the Torch report was the alternate. There were other reports that were in 20,000. There were anti-nuclear groups that said 80,000, over 100,000. So you have 5 orders of magnitude in difference. Yes. With anti-nuclear activists who might get a little too excited now and again. Not sure about that. But they're at one extreme, and the nuclear industry is saying 80 people? How do they do that? Anyway, we should go on.
Because it's how it's done in all other
It's because
ways.
their underlying financial position is threatened by people dying of radiation poisoning.
Well, yeah, of course. Just like in Puerto Rico, when you have a blackout or this or that, they say, oh, well, only because you're talking about direct death versus indirect death. And like you're talking about something like the Holocaust, you're talking about direct death, indirect death. What is it that they couldn't, like when you're talking about COVID in New York City, you're talking direct death, and then think like you're waiting too long to get,
So let me ask you, in the Holocaust,
yeah.
If a person died of pneumonia, does that mean that he wasn't killed?
Right. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. It's like you can do this and say, well, the average or this isn't really the person.
Listen, there averages. You got problems when you're dealing with. You have to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, raw data. It's important.
You have to know when you're talking about percentages. You have to know when you're talking about. In this particular case, do you know what rifling is on a gun?
No.
The way they can get a bullet from a gun and compare it to the bullet that killed somebody and say that gun killed this person is by the grooves in the gun, which do the rifling, which make the bullet spin, are unique, like fingerprints. They're meant to be identical, and they're identical to the eye, but you can see things in them that make differences. The nuclear industry wants to assume that they are responsible only for deaths in which you can see the rifling on the beta particle that killed the person. This is not. Okay, I'm sorry. I said too much. Yes. All right. We're up to an article from ABC News, and we have a picture of Larry Ellison.
Yeah. So the headline here is Musk loses crown as world's richest person to software giant Larry Ellison.
Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison wrested the title of the world's richest man from long-time holder Elon Musk early Wednesday, according to wealth tracker Bloomberg, as stock in this software giant rocketed by more than a third during a stunning few minutes of trading. By the way, it has edged back a bit. Now Elon Musk is the richest man in the world again. I don't know what to say about this. Do you have anything to say about it?
I don't know. My word that I wrote down is dumb. I I mean, it's like the stock market. People will just, oh no, I'm on top. Oh no, it's just whatever. I don't know. It's
the only reason I put this in is because it's talking about Elon Musk.
I know that. I know that. But
so we have Tesla involved, and we have batteries, cars, you name it. But
it's not about that. It's about him. I mean, it's about him.
Yeah. And I don't know. He might be worth twice as much as he is. He might have been worth twice as much as he is if he had just stayed out of politics.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's a, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go on.
Let's go on from this one.
All right. We're back to nuclear power again. This is a rendering of a nuclear power plant by Allo Atomics. And this comes from The Cool Down, which is an interesting publication.
So the headline here is US Department of Energy pushes ahead with plan to fast track new age nuclear reactors.
New age nuclear reactors. That means that who is a new age person?
I don't know.
Okay. The DOE, Department of Energy, recently launched its nuclear reactor pilot program, selecting 11 reactors to fast track, with a goal to see that at least 3 test reactors reach criticality by July 4th, 2026. It will use its own authorization process ahead of the standard routes. How do they do that? Simple. You take it out of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's purview and you put it into the military where we can't see it. Mm-hmm. And these reactors, I looked into it a little bit, it actually is possible that one of these reactors could be built, 3 of them could be built by the 4th of July next year. And the reason I say that is because these reactors are so small. I've read stories about teenagers in high school who put together, a teenager in high school put together a fusion reactor in it at home, and it worked. Now, it took more energy to run it than it produced.
Yes.
Nevertheless, that's what he did. And so what we have here, I think, is the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is out of the show, so the U.S., whatever it is, DOE, can build these things the way a child would build one at home. Obviously, I have a position on this.
Well, anyone that says they're going to use their own authorization process sounds like they're not using an authorization process. That's what that means to me. And then the other thing...
Does the military use an authorization process? I don't know.
Does the Department of Energy know what reaching criticality means?
Well, I'm sure that somebody
within the Department of Energy might know what reaching criticality means.
I don't know if the people who are appointed to positions
are aware of what
that
means. Those mean.
But I do think, they probably had 3 of these. They probably called them all up on the phone and said, when can you do this? If you really rush, when can you do it? Disregarding money because we're going to supply that to you,
Don't worry.
Don't worry. And they might have had 3 that said July 4th because they're going to build it like a kid in his kitchen.
Well, and it's July 4th.
Of course, yes. Yeah.
So somebody can have a statement on July 4th.
Okay.
That's what we do.
We're up to Friday, September 12th, and I did a lot of research on this next story.
Yes.
This is a picture of All Seas Grand Tour with a load and an article from Really News.
Yeah, so the headline here is All Seas orders heavy transport vessel Grand Tour.
Okay. All Seas has ordered a new-built heavy transport vessel to expand its fleet and strengthen its offshore wind capabilities. The ship, Grand Tour, will be built at Guangzhou Shipyard International in China, of all places, with delivery scheduled for the first quarter of 2028. It will have a 40,000 metric ton capacity. Just picture 40,000 metric tons in your mind. That's why I did so much research. I want to be able to tell a story here that tells people what 40,000 metric tons is. Okay, here's my story. It's short, one paragraph. The long bow version of the Essex-class aircraft carrier was the largest U.S. aircraft carrier of the Second World War. Largest. It was 880 feet long, had a range of 20,000 nautical miles, carried up to 100 aircraft. Just imagine 100 aircraft on a ship. It was designed to have a crew of about 2,671 officers and men, although in the war it typically had 1,000 more than that. It carried all the material needed for all of that: ammunition, bombs, torpedoes, aviation fuel, ship fuel, food, toothpaste, etc. Fully loaded, it displaced 36,380 long tons, a long ton being approximately equal to a metric ton. That ship could carry the weight of that aircraft carrier with all the junk on it. Just imagine that. It's unbelievable. And the reason is because they want to be able to carry something like that yellow block, which is a substation. Although I don't think I'd call it a substation. It's not sub anything.
It might be a station.
It's a station, yeah. It's whatever it is. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a picture of a natural gas carrier, a liquefied natural gas carrier. Those four round things on the ship are basically steel balls completely filled with liquefied natural gas, because natural gas liquefies under pressure, a reasonable pressure you can put in these things. This is from Euronews.
Yeah, so here's the headline: EU to speed up phase out of Russian energy amid US pressure.
EU Energy Chief Dan Jorgensen is confident that a deal to end Russian energy from entering the bloc by 2027 will happen quite soon. I wonder if he said that in English. If he didn't, why would it be in quotes? I don't know. Anyway, he might have said it in English. The U.S. is pressuring the European Union to import American liquefied natural gas instead of Moscow's. Why should it import any natural gas? Critics say the European Union should stick to climate goals. Well, that's what the critics are saying. They're saying we shouldn't be burning this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too.
We should be sticking to climate goals.
We should.
We should be sticking to climate goals. Stop trying to appease other, people.
Yeah, absolutely. We should be sticking to the climate goals. And natural gas is one of the things. Natural gas is bad stuff.
Yeah. It's not part of our goals.
No. Okay, here we have a Tesla, which somehow escaped the graffiti on the wall behind it.
Somehow. So this is from Clean Technica. The headline here is Tesla market share dips below 40% in USA for first time since 2017.
According to Cox Automotive, Tesla's share of the EV market, I don't even know what they mean by 40% of the market in 2017. There wasn't an EV market in the United States in 2017.
Maybe in California.
I think that's where the date that Tesla was introduced and they could start talking about a market. Okay. Tesla's share fell in the U.S. to an 8-year low to just 38% of the EV sales in August. That's a pretty severe drop for a company that at one time domineered the U.S. market for electric cars with more than an 80% share. And that's, I think Tesla came close to 100% share at points.
Right. Yeah.
And that, I think, happened because Elon Musk was getting involved in politics.
Right. Well, you know, when it's about a character and not a mission, right? When it's about a person and an ego, not a point of view, it's what is the point? I mean, again, I say, what is the point? Because what market? Like,
yeah.
what I said when I say EV market, what market? Trump is trying to close down the market.
Yeah, he is. This story, however, reminds me of something an old man told me when I was young. And he was talking about something that happened during the Depression. He lived in a town that had an old woman in it who had a medical problem and no income. She was living on, you know, a very small fixed amount of money. Mm-hmm. And she needed suddenly medical help. So this was going to cost her, and she couldn't pay her mortgage. So actually, I don't know if it was mortgage, it might have been rent, but at any rate, she was evicted. And all of her stuff, you know, the bank had all of her stuff taken out of the house and put on the sidewalk in front of it. And the next day, there was a run on the bank. Everybody in town withdrew their money. They didn't want their money in a bank that would do that to a poor old lady with medical problems. And that tells you the effect that people can have if they just decide they're not going to deal with people who act like that. Mm-hmm. And what my friend told me was the bank got its money back. It went to the woman, apologized, put the furniture back, and worked out some kind of agreement where she would be safe for a while. And when people heard that, they didn't all stand in line at the bank, but they put their money back in the bank. And I don't know what the equivalent with Washington, D.C. would be, but anyway, we're up to Saturday, September 13th, and we have a picture of wind turbines in Iowa, and this is from Radio Iowa.
Yes, Radio Iowa. So the headline here is Iowa could have 100% carbon-free power by 2045.
Yeah, Iowa's electricity needs are expected to rise by 30% to 60%. Interesting range there in the next 20 years, and a report finds the state might be able to meet the demand and achieve 100% carbon-free electricity with renewable energy. The operating costs for solar and wind are cheaper than coal and natural gas. We knew that.
Yes, it's cheaper. Yeah.
I will tell you, there's a reason, everybody should know this. Our viewers should know this. There's a reason why Nancy and I can laugh at these dreadful situations that we're in involving climate change. And behind this, there's a part of my heart that is just weeping for people who are in trouble. But this situation is not going to last forever. And what we have to do is get it done, get it over as fast as we possibly can in order to save as many people as possible from being destroyed by the results of greed of some people. But we have to stop it. But we can reverse this.
Yes.
There's just one story after another about, well, the last story in this episode just tells you how crazy this is.
Yes.
Okay, should I move on?
Let's move on.
This is fun.
Oh, this one's fun. This one's fun. I like this one.
Yeah. Okay, this is from Clean Technica, and we have a picture, a picture of a new solid-state battery, and this is actually how the battery is assembled.
That's so cool. So a reversible, as the headline here is, a reversible self-assembling solid-state battery electrolyte from MIT.
Researchers at MIT published a study in the journal Nature Chemistry detailing a process that creates a self-assembling, I love it, electrolyte for solid-state batteries that can be broken down and reused in a simple, non-toxic liquid bath. The process of reuse has been made easy. Okay, you have an amphiphile. On the left side of the picture, it's a group of monomers, which are groups of atoms of various kinds. But a monomer, you combine monomers and you get polymers. But this is what's the word? There's a word for polymers that are stacked. A polymer in which the monomers are stacked. I don't remember. It's a word that I didn't even know until 6 months ago. So it's not something that spills off my tongue. Anyway, that thing, because of the way that it's shaped and the charges that are there, there's no intelligence going on here. It's just because of the charges and the way that it's shaped, it will automatically line up with others of its type, like that thing in the middle.
Yes.
The supramolecular nanoribbon. And if you pile up enough of those supramolecular nanoribbons, you can make them into a battery, which is a solid-state battery. It doesn't have a liquid in it. But when it'll get old, or it'll get broken, or whatever it'll do, and when it does, you dissolve the contents of the battery and you get those things again in the solution. I love it. I absolutely love it. It reminds me of how crystals can be grown from chemicals. I've worked in chemical factories where in one factory, one of the workers had a bottle that had this long crystal in it. And he had been boiling water out of a solution in order to get crystals, which were then going to be, I don't know, dried, ground up, whatever. But he preserved one by putting it in the solvent and then putting it in this thing. And one thing that he didn't understand was that crystal was not exactly stable when it was in the solvent, even though the solvent was saturated, because the solvent could crystallize, make little crystals elsewhere, and it would dissolve the crystal he put in to do this. Anyway, nature has ways of putting things together.
Think of sponges.
Think of sponges, which are animals.
Yes, but which are, it makes me think of that, what you're talking about makes me think of when I was a kid, you had these weird little things you could put in bathtubs where if you dropped it in, it would like become this big sponge become it just changing shape and changing media, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, let's go on.
Yeah, let's go on.
We're way behind schedule here. Okay, we have an item from Renews. Wind turbines.
Yep. So Enercon launches integrated wind battery product.
This makes perfect sense. It's kind of something I've been surprised somebody hasn't done. The German firm Enercon launched an integrated wind and battery product. That means a wind turbine or a set of wind turbines with a battery. The company said the turnkey integration of the battery energy storage system and a hybrid controller into new or existing wind farms is a, quote, key to related energy system based on renewable generation technologies. Now, part of the problem with wind turbines is that the owners occasionally in their opinion, all too often, have to curtail them because the grid doesn't need the electricity, and there are more steady, stable things on the grid that they can find it easier to deal with. This makes wind turbines into things that are steady and stable.
Probably shouldn't import U.S. Liquefied natural gas.
We have the technology. We have a bunch of different kinds of renewable technology: solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, tidal. We have a bunch of different technologies, and we've also got a bunch of different storage technologies.
Yeah.
When we say battery, we don't mean that it has to be a lithium-ion battery. And in fact, when we say storage, it doesn't even have to be a battery. What's there is enough technology to provide all the electrical energy we need. We don't need any of this other stuff. But in order to put in what we do need, which is these systems, we have to get rid of that other stuff, which means that somebody is going to have stranded assets. They don't like that.
No.
Well, just so you know, there was once upon a time a company called Danish Oil. It started selling natural gas, so it became Danish Oil and Natural Gas. It decided it wanted to go beyond that, so it just took its initials, threw them together, and became Dong. In time, it decided that it really didn't want oil and natural gas, so it changed the name to Ørsted. And now it's the biggest offshore wind company in the world.
Yeah.
So it went from being a more or less successful oil company to being a very successful offshore wind company and other renewables. It's because they changed their business plan. They didn't have to keep that business plan. And these other companies like Shell, they can change their business plan.
Yes, of course they can.
So, all right, we're up to Sunday, September 14th, and somebody's going to tell me to shut up and go away. I'm talking too much. Okay, we have a picture of a tram in Hiroshima, and this is from the Mainichi, which is a Japanese publication.
Yeah, so resource-scarce Japan is turning to renewables to power trains.
Yeah. Trains in resource-poor Japan are increasingly powered by renewables as their operators seek to do their part in the country's drive to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Tokyo Corp, that is Tokyu Corp, for example, buys electricity certified to be generated from non-fossil fuel sources to run its train. Well, certified to be from non-fossil fuel sources means probably it came from a nuclear power plant.
You don't say impressed. Renewables and you say non-fossil fuels.
But it's electric trains are more efficient than the ones that use fossil fuels. Okay.
Definitely.
Here is a dam in Kentucky.
Yeah. So can Kentucky harness, this is from the Courier Journal, can Kentucky harness more clean, reliable power from its rivers?
Dozens of Kentucky's existing dams could be suitable for hydroelectric generation, dozens of them, but have not yet been developed to produce electricity. They offer an opportunity to increase the state's share of the oldest form of renewable energy. Other dams could also be developed. This is not just true of Kentucky, it's true of any place you can put a dam.
Yes.
It's true of Vermont. There are lots of dams in Vermont that will not be torn down. There are people who want to tear them down for environmental reasons, but they won't be torn down because they're there for flood control.
Yeah.
And, but some of them have had generating facilities added to them. Okay, our next item. This is wind turbines, and it looks like those are rice paddies. Not sure. This is from Clean Technica.
Okay, the headline here is "The Solar Empire Strikes Back."
Wow, what a astonishing headline. The mood at the annual US Renewable Energy Market Conference this month was somber. Bill McKibben says not to count US solar out just yet, however. In his latest blog post, McKibben compares the US and China and finds a clear winner. The investments in renewable energy came from China. And China is just investing money like mad all over the world, while the United States is trying to be mean.
Yes.
Why? Because the United States is greedy.
Yes.
I could make this biblical if you want.
My reaction to this article is, yep.
I'm going to say one thing about religion.
Oh.
I cannot, for the life of me, imagine why a real Christian would support meanness and vengeance.
Right.
I just can't imagine it. Okay, let's go on.
Mm-hmm.
We're up to Monday, September 15th, and we have a picture of a Chevron refinery in California.
Yeah, this is from Clean Technica. California refineries close as gasoline demand slips into permanent decline.
This is this is interesting. The stranded assets are really stranded when you close them. Gasoline consumption in California has been declining for nearly a decade. That reshapes the economics of refining. The closures we are seeing are less about regulators pushing firms out and more about the market pulling the floor out from under them. And that's what's happening. You know, as the people adopt EVs, you can't sell internal combustion cars and you can't sell internal combustion fuel. So
people are trying to prepare for the future.
Yeah, they are.
They're not trying to keep doing something they know. They know at this point. They know it. It's not, oh, I'm still living under this cloud. No, it's no. There might be people who live under a cloud, but they're willfully ignorant at that point when you have information available.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, people, again, we're back to the people who started withdrawing their money and had a run on the bank.
Yeah.
People are taking this situation into their own hands and doing their own thing.
Yes.
You want to do something about the climate? Start with what you own that burns fuel.
States' rights, right? I mean, really. I mean, that's what that
is. But of course, the administration in Washington is trying to take that away from them.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting picture. Solar PVs on a motor inn. And that picture, I believe, is in Australia, which is dry, of course. And I noticed that everything is up on posts to lift it up. So I think that might be because it floods occasionally.
Well, This is from Energy Connects. And Australia's rooftop solar and battery installations are surging despite broader lag in renewables.
Yeah, this picture is one that I found specifically for the purpose of showing rooftop solar in Australia. Australia is on track to overshoot its 2030 rooftop solar targets, possibly because it's being done by ordinary human beings rather than legislation. Yeah. With enthusiasm for panels and batteries, offsetting drops in large projects and broader renewable investment. About 27 gigawatts of rooftop solar has been installed as of end June. Now that's 27 total from the beginning of time. 27 gigawatts, however, is a lot. And that is 99% probably of that amount of the total number of installations, because which could be 40% of the total amount of electricity produced by these rooftop. I'd have to think that through. But the rooftop solar is almost all installed by individuals and small businesses, schools, churches, you name it. And people have just been doing that. I think I reported 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, that 33% of the people in Queensland, which is a big state in the east, they're all big states, but had solar panels on their roofs. This is a very common thing now in Australia. So, anyway, I saw this and I thought, that picture looks like it was taken on the moon.
I know, yeah, it's really, really great with that light.
Yeah.
So this is from Renews, and the headline here is Ørsted faces $25 million weekly hit from US stop order.
Yeah, and Ørsted is after the Trump administration for that order. They want their money. Ørsted has warned it faces up to $25 million in additional weekly costs from the U.S. government ordered construction to stop after the U.S. government ordered construction to stop on the 704 megawatt Revolution Wind project off Rhode Island. Ørsted said the order has introduced significant uncertainty around the project. And this is something that just stunned me. It dawned on me, I was sitting there thinking, what does Donald Trump have against Ørsted? Or I can tell you, I figured it out. I think. Ørsted is Danish. Denmark owns Greenland.
Oh my God, no.
This is how the United States is doing business.
Yeah.
It's not going to last. I mean, it really is not going to last. And what's happening here is that significant uncertainty. That first part of what I just said is a theory. The second part, this is not so much theory. Significant uncertainty means around this project means the United States is not a place to invest.
Yes.
So what this is action against Ørsted is doing is it's driving investment away from the United States.
Yes. That is what it is doing. Yes.
Yeah, okay, we're up to Tuesday, September 16th. And
this one's fun. Okay, this one's fun.
This is fun.
Okay, so this is from Euronews.
This is a self-assembling grid.
We like the self-assembling. This is in Estonia, a new rare earth magnet plant powers Europe's green transition.
Europe's first rare earth magnet plant has opened in Estonia. The new facility marks a milestone in the European Union's effort to secure a supply chain for critical technologies. China is now supplying 90% of the European Union's permanent magnets needed for wind turbines. We could do this in the United States.
Yeah.
The fact is, the United States has at least one of the best sources for rare earth elements in the world in California. And it's not working because of environmental concerns. Well, if we address the environmental concerns, the cost of the rare earths is going to go up a bit. but it's already up a bit because they're in demand.
Yeah.
The big deal with rare earths is not that they're rare. They're all over the place. If you have a garden, you've got rare earth minerals in your garden. You know, they're just all over the place. The big problem with them is that after you've extracted the rare earths, you've got to separate them. And they are like 17 metals that are chemically so nearly identical, they're really hard to separate. And I used to work with rare earths in a factory. Loved working with gadolinium. It's really sweet. But, you know, there you go. And the magnets, these are magnetic poles. I just thought that is so funny. It's like that.
It's like the other one, yeah.
Well, it's like the other one where the what were they called? Supra, I forget, something or other, where the battery was self-assembling.
Oh, yeah.
Neat stuff. Okay, we're up to an article in Clean Technica and a Beta Alia CX300.
Yeah, this puts Vermont on the map as well.
It sure does.
So it's a test flight of Beta Alia CX300 electric airplane completed in Norway.
The CX300 is based on an electric VTOL, which is vertical takeoff and land aircraft that has been under development by Beta Technologies, a Vermont company formed in 2017. According to the New York Times, it has completed test flights in the United States. Norway put up $5 million for a test flight there. So why? Well, Norway doesn't strike me as being a big country, but it has the third biggest coastline of any country on Earth.
Right.
The biggest is Canada, which is basically just huge and made up of a lot of islands. What's the second biggest? I forget. I don't know. But Norway is the third. And the problem that Norway has is if you want to get from one place to another by car, you either take a ferry boat every time you come to a fjord, which you will often, or you take your time and drive around the fjord, which is going to take a lot of time. A test, in this test flight, they were able to go. They were able to cover a distance, and I forget what the cities were, but they were able to cover a distance in about 20% of the time that it would take to drive. So this is important. Okay, we have an article from Clean Technica, and this is new cars sold by type.
World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is in the world, and you can see that EVs are growing, and internal combustion cars are not.
So this is from Clean Technica.
Yeah.
Vehicle sales growth since 2020 is entirely from electric cars.
Yeah. There's a narrative among people in the auto industry and mainstream media that demand for electric cars is shaky, while fossil fuel cars have strong and consistent demand. Well, they want you to think that.
Yeah.
It is bunk. Electric car sales have been growing while fossil fuel car sales have been shrinking.
True statement.
There it is. And it's like a lot of things. Early on, I couldn't understand why it was that there were news organizations that were saying by early on I mean 12 years ago. I was reading articles that were saying solar power is, the electricity is just too expensive. It's forget it. And I'd read another article that said the cost of solar is coming down and it's going to be as low as the cost of electricity from natural gas very soon. And I thought, how do they reconcile those? So I started thinking, okay, I'm looking through the news every day. And I made note in my mind of every power purchase agreement that I came to. And the two expensive organizations were saying that the cost of solar electricity was 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour. The cheap ones were saying, no, it's 3.25. It's half that, or less than half that cost. And I was seeing power purchase agreements for 3. So obviously the guys who were saying it was too expensive were lying. And
Yep.
they never gave sources of their information, and that's kind of a giveaway, where the other organizations did, until finally one of them did give a source. They said solar power costs 5.5 cents or whatever it was, but it was very specific, like 5.42 cents per kilowatt hour, something like that. And they said, according to the US DOE, they didn't say what web page it was or where to find it. They just said, okay. So I said, well, I'm going to find out. And I found it. They were citing a source that was 5 years old. The cost of solar is coming down by 13% per year, and they're citing a source that's 5 years old. That isn't accidentally disingenuous, I don't think. It's just a lie. Okay, we're up to Wednesday, September 17th. We've got a wind turbine and an article from Renew Economy.
Yeah, so the headline here is wind energy faces existential challenge as solar and battery hybrids beat it on costs.
Well, the Australian wind energy industry gathered in Melbourne to confront an uncomfortable truth. The cost of wind turbines has almost doubled. Now, this is because the price of steel is going up and other things, from what it was just a few years ago, and the technology is now losing on price to solar and battery storage combined. However, notably, it isn't losing on price to natural gas. And I wonder how long this is going to last. However, I want to go on to the next article.
Yep.
This is from Clean Technica.
Yeah, so low battery prices and affordable electric cars sweeping into Europe.
A decade ago, electric cars were long range and affordable. Were long range or affordable. You couldn't find a model that was both. However, battery prices have only dropped fast. The Renault Zoe, Chevy Bolt EV, and Tesla Model 3 led us into an era of long-range but affordable electric cars. Now, could you put that picture up? I want to point out, do you see anything about that picture that looks odd?
A few things look odd.
What looks odd?
Well, the license plate, Inster.
Yeah, well,
that's weird.
What else?
I don't know. The wheels.
Okay.
Okay.
What else?
I don't know what I'm looking for, but yeah.
I saw this and I thought, that picture just looks odd.
Like it's the spin. Yeah, it's the spin. It's like it's a soft at the edges, which makes me think that something's in motion.
Okay. Now, I looked at this and I said, okay, now, first of all, I have some expertise in perspective.
Yeah.
And using perspective in drawings. The perspective in the car is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
The car, you're looking down on the roof slightly, and you're looking down on the bumper, but at about the same angle.
Yeah.
the car looks like its left side is higher than its right side because of that.
Yes.
If you look behind the car on its left, on our left side, those buildings back there are out of focus.
Yes.
Like the car is in focus, but it's in motion.
Yeah.
Those buildings are out of focus. But look at the buildings behind the in the middle of the photograph. They're in focus. Usually a camera is going to put a focus on something on the basis of distance, and everything else is out of focus the farther it gets from that thing. That is not a photograph. That is an AI produced image, the whole thing. AI. It was produced by an artificial ignoramus.
Yeah.
I don't trust artificial intelligence.
No,
So-called.
it's artificial.
It's based on human thinking, and human thinking is not usually very good.
Yeah.
We need something that will improve the thinking. Okay, so we are at our last photograph, our last story, and what do we have?
So from Euronews, we've got in Portugal's marine forest, scientists discover kelp is a powerful carbon store.
Yeah, and you can eat it.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Scientists measured the carbon caught by seaweed in marine forests off the north coast of Portugal. They found it plays a major role in carbon capture and storage, but they warn that climate change is threatening the seaweed's ability to provide its benefits. It's threatening the seaweed. This is so much like sphagnum. An acre of wetland that is growing sphagnum will draw down 15 times as much carbon, I've read, as an acre of forest. And it is just grabbing this stuff up, and then it dies pretty quickly. And when it dies, it goes to the bottom. And this stuff, I don't know. Sphagnum, the amount of sphagnum we could grow is unbelievable. But we have to be protecting it and possibly growing it. We could grow it for human consumption. And there is seaweed that if you feed it to cattle as 0.5% of their food, it cuts down their methane emissions by 75%, something like that.
That's pretty good.
We've got a couple of problems, and we've got more solutions than you can shake a stick at.
Yeah.
We just have to get our act together. And, you know, children in school should learn about what they can study to make things better, because they can make things better.
I think that probably is how our younger populations are managing stress. Is
Yes.
coming up with how they can have an impact.
Well, they can have an impact, and it doesn't take a lot of imagination to do that. I mean, if they're going to go into forestry, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be impacting climate change. If they're going to go into weather, they're going to be impacting climate change. If they're going to be going into chemistry, they've got opportunities to impact climate change. You know, they can, I don't know, they can become poets and impact climate change.
Yes, they can. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, we're at the end of the show.
Yeah. We
So
are.
our final wish to everybody is have a patently superior week. Do you know what patently means?
Have a patent?
No. Patently means plainly superior week. Patent, word patent, which is a neat word, you know, it was patently true. It comes from a Latin word that means laid out clearly. And that's what happens in a patent. If you want to keep something secret, don't apply for a patent. Okay, everybody.
Okay.
See you next week, I hope,
next week.
or maybe you'll be seeing us because we can't see you.
Yeah, we can't see you.
But we hope you come back.
Okay.
Have a lovely week. Patently superior week. Bye-bye.